I'd love to welcome to the stage our next speaker today, Ari Hoffman, who's the VP of Customer Marketing and Advocacy at Influitive. Ari.
Thank you. We have the hot mic. Thank you so much. So one more session after me. Where's Jeff? See Jeff in the corner? He is the last thing between you and mountain air. So don't hold me accountable. Hold Jeff accountable for that. It's after lunch. We've learned a lot. We've been here a while. Can I get everyone to stand up out of your chairs for a second? Everybody, Todd, hands way up in the air. Stretch them up. Stretch them out wide. How are we all feeling? Take that deep breath in. And now I've got a picture of you all looking silly. So we are good to go. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about something a little bit different today, customer marketing and advocacy. Can I get a quick show of hands? How many of you have an actual dedicated either customer marketer or customer marketing team at your company? I think that's, can someone tell me that's 50-50, right? It's over half of the room. So we'll know a lot about this. I've been asked at least 4 times in the last day and a half, what does customer marketing do? So we're gonna get into that to start. We're gonna get into all of it. So customer marketing has generally been focused on the post-sale marketing muscle. So expansion, cross-sell, upsell, life cycle, advocacy, adoption, engagement. And there's a lot of crossover between that and digital CS. Sometimes toes are stepped on, sometimes they're not. And so today is all about how do we get closer together. If you do have a customer marketing team, some things that we can do with your customer marketing team. And if you don't, some things you can do without them because you have to wear all the hats. Advocacy has generally been in the past VOC programs. That's what it was 6 years, 7 years ago if you looked at titles. Customer marketing as a title didn't even exist 7 years ago. I made up titles. I called it customer success marketing, expansion marketing. You'll hear renewals marketing. But it's relatively new. Advocacy's been around a long time, but it was never really a marketing function. It was much more your internal VOC, like Net Promoter Score, CSAT. Today, you find advocacy much more in the realm of marketing. It's how do we get our customers to advocate on our behalf? And so we have this new industry, just like the CS world, we have the CMA, customer marketing and advocacy, and it kind of buckets it all together. Depending on the company, if you're Cisco, you call it one thing. If you're Dell, you call it another. But it's all generally under the umbrella of customer marketing and advocacy when you focus on that post-sale cycle. An advocate, and this is something that I think customer success pros are a lot more close to and empathize with more than the rest of the org. So this might be redundant for you, but we often think of advocates as someone who does a case study for us or writes a review. But advocacy is actually so much more. If they get on an investor call, if they get on an analyst call, if they get on a competitive analysis call with your product marketing, they're advocates. They're helping you build the business. They're doing something that is not part of their day-to-day job. Part of their day-to-day job might be using your service, software, or product, but it isn't to help you grow your business. That isn't a part of their job. So anything they're doing to help you better your company that isn't a part of their job, that's an advocate. That's something you're asking them to do out of their day-to-day job. And so where does advocacy generally fall, depending on your company and what you're trying to align or customer marketing? Mostly where you see it right now is demand. It's shifting actually as we go through the months, but right now it's demand gen and they're really focused on growth. Right? How do we help sell more, buy more, both pre and post sale, right? So even though we're making a lot of content for the post sale experience, a lot of that is then given to your demand gen teams, right? And so that's when they want that really close. Corporate comms, that's when you want your customers closer to your brand identity. You want them really being a part of the voice of the company. When it falls into customer experience, which is actually one of the areas that I'm seeing it decrease, that's really focused on journey mapping, the whole experience. And you have companies where it rolls up to CS, and that makes a lot of sense. They do a lot on CS operations, helping build decks for CS, helping build the content that CS needs. CS will create it, but then we make it brand aligned, right? And the one thing with CS is tends to, no one get offended by this, but have smaller budgets than marketing. And I think everyone's well aware of that here. And then where I am seeing the fastest growth is in product marketing. So you'll see customer marketing roll up there because you want to get your customers closer to your product. You want them a part of not just your early access programs and your beta programs, but you want them in the ideation phase. You want the feedback loops really pulled in, right? So that you're constantly optimizing your product. What's in it for the company to have customer marketing and advocacy? This is all self-aware. I would say the last one, product, is really an essential one that we all talk about wanting to do more, but don't always really deliver on that, which is getting your customers closer to your product, especially if you're trying to be a customer-led organization that has product-led growth as one of your principles. What's in it for, this is a really fun slide. So this is what's in it for your customers to become advocates, right? Personal brand development, networking, FOMO, fear of missing out on what everyone else is doing, like being here at this conference. I know if we show anyone zip lines, right, we might not be able to come back because all of a sudden our bosses will want to be here. Education, professional growth, motivators. So back, I don't know, this is probably 10 years old now, and I'm sure it still holds true, but at Salesforce, when they started the Trailblazer community, they surveyed, now anyone raise your hand if you know Erica Cool? Yeah, she's amazing. She's one of my heroines. She is the godmother of what we call community today and MVP programs. So she surveyed, it was something like 16,000 people took the survey, and she A/B tested the survey. So half of it was anonymous. It was not hooked up to their Trailblazer account. It was just a completely anonymous survey. The other half, it was hooked up to their Trailblazer account, so it wasn't anonymous. On the anonymous one, it was literally in this order. Brand development was number one, networking, FOMO, education, professional growth, and rewards, right? On the non-anonymous one, personal brand development moved to dead last. And so what she talked about, and what is very true and apparent, is we might want to build our brands, but we're not going to openly talk about that. It's too egocentric, it's too self-motivated, right? But it is so important. We all know that, especially with layoffs and everything, that building your brand identity isn't just important for you, it's also important for your company, right? Because we identify with people at our companies, not the brand itself. We identify with the leaders there and the people who are making the splash. That's how we know most of the companies we know, is through the people. All right, so Christy was a little nervous about this slide, and I'm happy that she was. Let's talk about why we have seen sometimes CSMs being hesitant to allowing the gates to open to their accounts to marketers, right? And one is, I have yet to meet a CSM who says, I have so much time on my hands, teach me more stuff. Give me more programs. Most CSMs that I have met are treading water. They have too many accounts, they're working their asses off. Excuse my language. You can delete that one. They're working really hard. They have this muscle memory that's happening, right? You're getting through the day and you're just barely keeping it afloat. And so anytime someone brings something new in, like a new program, a new awards program, a new rewards thing, it's met with hesitation, not because you don't want it or it's not gonna help you, but you're just barely surviving as is. And so there's this natural ability to want to push change out until another day, till you can keep up today. The next is, customer success managers are the coaches, right? They are, if you were to take a sports analogy, like a basketball team, you have the coach who is there, and all that CSM really cares about is, are we winning games? Are my players playing well enough together to win games? What do I need to do to keep them winning games? You have the account managers or GMs of a team. They care about how much the food and the concession stand costs. They care about how many people are in the seats and sponsorships at halftime. But the coach doesn't really care about that. The coach really cares about winning the games. And then you have what customer marketers are, kind of like your, advocates are like your B2B sports agent, right? People who run customer marketing. And then you have your support, which are like sports doctors. But CSMs, they have a hard job because not every day is going to be great. You're going to have those tough conversations, right? Greg talked about it earlier. How do you have these conversations to keep people on track? Well, as customer marketers, we kind of get the fun stuff. We get to show off the happy customers. We get to help build their brand and reward them and send them. And so that can sometimes detract from the relationship a CSM has with their accounts. And that makes sense, right? And so CSMs can sometimes push away and say, hey, I want to be the closest person to this account, and rightfully so. And then a lot of the programs that are happening in marketing, CSMs don't really have a lot of insight into it. And so it feels distant. There's no co-ownership over it. And so it just feels like yet another thing that's going to take attention away from that customer that doesn't keep them on track with trying to deliver. And the last thing is, CSMs should be the ultimate gatekeepers. We customer marketers do not have a job in the modern subscription economy if customer success isn't succeeding. If your customers aren't actually getting that perceived value, then what are they going to talk about? What are they going to share? How are they going to help promote? They can't. And so CSMs need to have that relationship. And so bringing all this together, we talk about the funnel, right? And how do our customers actually help in that funnel? I'm not going to go through all of this. Just know it used to be a funnel, now it's an hourglass, and most people believe that, you know, after they come through the hourglass and they sell and they buy and they become a customer and they convert and they get all this value, then they become an advocate and you spit that out at the end. And that's not true. We know that's not true. And so I'm going to talk to you about the actual things that I've learned to motivate customers and turn them into those shining stars. And it can start from day one, just from a great sales experience. They go through the sales motion, they feel fully supported, you help build the business value case and all. You can get them to leave reviews and they haven't even started using the product yet, just about what that sales experience was like, because a lot of people want to know about that. So how advocacy actually works is when you have a product that actually works, that is the foundation. The product has to do what it says, or the service, what you're providing. If that does the right thing, and you have the right amount of assets, your knowledge base, your training materials, and the right services, whether that's professional services or if CS is sold as a service or not, you have all that together, all that goodness, well, hopefully that customer starts to grow. And as they grow, they transpire, right? They sweat. And that sweat is that advocacy, that goodness that's coming out of them. And you don't want a program where it's like the Sahara Desert and you have one cactus growing over there and another one. You want it to be like a rainforest where they're all together, they're tightly wound, they feel connected, and they create their own ecosystem, right? So it starts to rain on themselves and that advocacy becomes that goodness. That is the pipeline dream, right? It's where we all want to get to. And so what do? We collect that water and we put it in a well. And we all go to our advocacy well and we say, how much water is in that well? And every time we need something, right, what happens? We're going to reach out to a CSM. We say, hey, will this customer do so-and-so? Or even more so, when you're super busy, we'll say, hey, what customer do you have that happens to be in Southern Florida, runs tech, has this stack, and you're like, really? Like, that's what you want me looking for? And so what's problem with these wells, and a lot of people are here, and it's not because of malicious intent, it's just a part of growing your customer marketing muscle, is every time you have that, you dip that bucket down into the well, and you manually pull that out, right? You go and search, you peck and hunt for that customer, and you find them. And not only is that high effort, and it's very stressful on the CSM to be the gatekeeper of that, but you have executives, and you have a lot of people who look into the well, old school well, down the top, and they see water. So they're like, I don't understand, why is it so hard to get a customer on a call in a week? You're like, well, because they have a life, they have a job, right? Selling us is not their job. But they look in, they go, I don't understand, we have all this water. And they don't realize how fast you're pulling it out in this old system, right? And so we forget how much we can ask customers. This slide is sensitive for me because I came into a company, everything was on fire, everything needed to be done yesterday. We didn't have enough reviews, we didn't have enough of this. And I had a GM of a very, very big company who they asked me to get him to do a video testimonial. He was speaking on stage at our conference, so I was going to get him to do a video testimonial after getting on stage. While he was at the conference, he was also doing a Gartner call that was a 3-hour-long Gartner analyst call for us. He was winning awards, so he had to do a speech. He was giving a talk at the conference, and on top of it, after he got the award, they wanted to do the follow-up video of winning the award. And he said, hey, Ari, can you do me a favor? And I just started at this company. He goes, can I get a timeout? Like, this is a lot. And so I didn't know about all the other things because there wasn't that type of communication. There was no left hand talking to right hand at the company. Events were reaching out for one thing, product was reaching out for another, field was reaching out for another. And nobody had insight, not even the CSM of the account, because they were all going straight to. And so not only do you create advocacy fatigue where customers will turn off and CSMs have every right to be protective of that, it causes internal fatigue. There's so much effort, right? Nothing is efficient about that process. And so what happens is, as this is happening and CSMs can start to see their customers, start to get a little bit more recluse and pull away a bit, what do? They get all these asks, well, they become more protective of the account, and because the asks come in through a myriad of ways, mostly Slack or email, you're not tracking it in some way, maybe a sheet somewhere. And so as CSMs become more protective of their accounts, it takes longer to fulfill those requests, right? And as that takes longer, what do people start doing? Because everyone wants more of this good water. Everyone wants more. They start dropping in their own hoses and siphoning the water out, right? They're reaching out directly to your customers. They're going behind. Nobody is talking to anyone. Now you're pulling out the water faster then you know how to fill it, right? And that's okay, but it is a problem. It is high stress, and at the end of the day, the most important thing is it doesn't work for your customers, right? You really burn them out, and you only go back to those same couple customers because it's such high effort to find your customers, right? So it's a limited pool, it's high effort, it is absolutely manual, there's low visibility into it, which leads to a 0-point digital engagement system. You don't have one if you're there. And so what is the modern day kind of customer marketing advocacy? It looks like an irrigation system, right? You move the well above ground so that you have a water tank where everyone can see how much is in it, how much you're using it. You start to have different drip systems depending. Some is wide spray if it's top of funnel, some is much more dripped like if it's on your life cycle, right? If you're using it in your actual training materials, you're using your customers. And so in that, right, you want to measure not only how fast you're bringing new customers in to your advocacy well, but how fast you're putting them out and being much more deliberate with where and when you use them and tracking that content to make sure it's actually valuable for your company. All right, so I'm gonna get into these three things just really quickly. Core advocacy is really focused on how do we get more customers to be advocates? What are the programs that we set up? Champion spotlights and awards programs and the rewards. Do we have an advocacy portal that we bring them into? Is this a formalized program that they actually get put into where they're part of customer advisory boards, or they're part of speaking at panels, or they're on the circuit? Lifecycle marketing is really focused on adoption and engagement. So they're gonna support your digital teams, your digital CS teams especially, and your content teams to making sure we provide the right marketing material to get that adoption. And so a couple different points here. You know, when you look at sales and marketing and how they work, when you're a prospect, you get all this beautiful content. Everything is lined up. What the salesperson is talking about is lined up to all the content that they're talking about. And then they become a customer, and all of a sudden you see CSMs having to like hack slides together and piecemeal things. And they're not marketers, they have a job to do, but they don't have that content, so they do it themselves. When you start to develop that lifecycle marketing skill, that's where marketing comes in to help and really focus on. Why that's so important to me, and I think probably to everyone in this room, is if you sell someone a Vitamix, and I know I gave this analogy the other day to someone, but if you sell someone a Vitamix at Costco and you spend $800 on it because you got that good little demo and you love the juice, and you're like, okay, I'll sack up and I buy this, and I take it home and I make the first smoothie and it's kind of comes out awful, and I get it all over myself, I'm putting that on the shelf and I'm not using it. If 6 months later, I start getting emails from Vitamix telling me, hey, we have this new $200 ergonomic handle for you, not only am I not gonna buy it, but they're gonna push me further away because it's annoying and I'm not even using the product. But if right off the bat when I buy that Vitamix, I get home and the first email I get is, here, welcome to the community. Here's dads just like you who are making smoothies for their kids in under 4 minutes. Easy, simple. And I get that first one and I get that success. And here, meet other people and share your recipes, and I kind of introduce them to that community. I become such an advocate of it. I'm using it so much. You're not even upselling me that handle anymore. I need it because I'm wearing out the handle. That's where lifecycle marketing really, really comes in to help. And then expansion, we all know what that is. So I'll move on from that. I'm gonna talk about 4 things that you can take away from this. If you don't have a customer advocacy program, if you have one person that is somewhat dedicated to customer advocacy, even though they maybe wear multiple marketing hats, and then if you do have a full team. All right, we're gonna talk about surprise and delight, champion spotlight, constant communication, and I'm not talking about async communication. I'm not talking about Slack talking. You need to get on the call and shared KPIs. So if you have a full team, one of the ways to stop stepping on toes and really become collaborative is to make sure that you have co-ownership over certain KPIs, whether it's renewals and retention, or it's your expansion and upsells. It could be opportunities, simply expansion opportunities. CSMs might not be responsible for anything to do with sales except for maybe providing those opportunities, right? Hand raises. But you gotta share those. How many advocates are they referring in? What are those programs? How is advocacy pushing back and helping? So what can we share on with experience, engagement, adoption? Constant comms, you'll never be able to work closely without that. And if it's all async, it's just gonna feel like more noise in the machine. And we've got a lot of static today, so we don't want that. Champion spotlight, surprise and delight, I'm gonna drop into those because those are things we can do today whether or not you have a marketing team. I mean, a dedicated marketing, customer marketing and marketing team. So surprise and delight is something that we had a lot of CSMs coming to us and saying, hey, we want to work more with you. We want to work, tighter, and we want to celebrate our customers. And so people, who uses a gifting platform like a Sendoso or anything like that? And do you send your customers, not just prospects, gifts? Do that? And is it just to reward them or sometimes just because? Right? And it costs money, you have to have the budget, and whose budget does that come out of? But it's great when you do it, and it always goes over well, right? It always helps deepen that relationship and make it stickier. So they came to us and said, how can we do this in a way that makes it even more personal? And what is a simple way, because we don't have a lot of time to be able to do this, right? Where we can remember people and do that. And so we wanted to figure out a way to celebrate customers on these random occasions, and we put them in to a playbook, and literally they can come in, they hit a button, and what it does is not only are we gonna celebrate them for these random acts that happen in their lives, so show them that we're thinking about them and that we care, and we're tracking all of that, but we created a way to just do simple videos where you can get their own executives to celebrate them and say, hey, I know I've already told you congratulations on your new child, but I wanted to let you know how special this new chapter is, and I know you're gonna be gone for a couple weeks or a month, and we're gonna miss you, but be focused. So they have their own executive, and you're putting this together for them, and it takes 2 seconds to have it. There's free software that you can do all of this with, right? You can use something like Vouch to record the videos, where it gives them the prompt. And then we have our own CSMs and our own account managers and their whole account pod. Leave a little video, congratulations. That costs no money. The recordings are generally like 30 seconds to a minute long, but it adds such a personal touch. And so when you talk about how do we use customer marketing to sell to customers, it's also how do you develop that relationship so that they want to hear you, they want to listen, they want to be expanded with, because they feel bought in and they feel like it's a partnership, not a vendor-customer relationship, right? Not sure if this is going to play. This is just a little...
Hi, Caroline. Hope you're having a great day so far. Just wanted to say a big congratulations on behalf of Christina and myself on your recent promotion.
Hey, Bev. I hope your week is going well.
You get the point, right? It's fun. It's awesome. It feels great. Customers love it. Customers love it so much that they'll bring me gifts at events to say thank you for the thank you. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's because you realize it touches them, and especially when you get their bosses involved. Now, here's another reason why CSMs will love this, is because we're always trying to expand in the account, right? Help develop deeper relationships, not just your champion or the one touch point, right? And we definitely want to go up. We want the executives and the buyers, right, to be on that. We're always asking something. Get on an EBR with us. There's always an ask. Let us tell you how we're fixing your company, right? There's always that big ask. But when you're asking them to celebrate their own team like this, that's not an ask, right? That's them getting to give. And so you're making them look like a hero. So you're not asking them to get on an EBR. You're literally asking them to celebrate. And so they don't even feel that perceived effort from it. And so it's a great way to develop that relationship with them by starting to give and making them look good. Trust me, anyone who makes you look good, you want to do more stuff with them, right? That's just a fact of life. We don't all want a spotlight on us, but we all want to feel valued. And so if you can help people feel valued, and that's where I actually developed the entire customer advocacy maturity model that laps over the product maturity model, the customer success maturity model. So with these, I would recommend start small, pilot it with a couple of your CSMs, allow them in, make it easy, don't overthink it, and you don't have to accompany it with a gift unless you have budgets for a gift. If you do have a budget for a gift, do the gifts, but you don't need them, right? They are not mandatory. And a big thing is if you have that one marketer and you say, hey, you want to do better with our CSMs? I know you're reaching out, you're saying you're getting blocked and you want me to help, celebrate them, just like you do with the customers. When they do these recordings, share those on Slack with the company or on Teams or whatever you use to communicate internally. Make the CSMs the champion. So give that advice to your customer marketers and they will win the hearts over their CSMs, because ultimately, like I won't even do an awards program where the CSM isn't on stage accepting the award with the customer. If it's at a conference, we fly the CSM out for that to win, because it is a partnership, right? And it requires that much love between the two. Wrong button. The next one is champion spotlights. And this is if you have maybe a marketer who kind of does some stuff like some reviews and does your case studies. Champion spotlight, does anyone know what a champion spotlight is? Oh, this is awesome. Yes. So I used to talk to marketers. So I came up with this about, I don't know, Todd, what was it? 8 years ago now, 9 years ago? Before Salesforce, I gave it to him. 7 or 8 years ago. And what it is what is a case study? You're gonna go to your best customer, your biggest brands, right? And every case study is the same thing. You're gonna go to your biggest brand logo that you have or the one with the best results. And you're gonna say, here's this company, here's how big they are, here's all the problems that they had. These are all the challenges they had. Here's what we said the solution will be, and here are the results. So in that case study, who's the champion of that story? Who's the hero? Is it them or is it your company for solving their problems, right? And when I'm reading stuff like that, I can't identify with the company. When I go out to Star Wars and I come out of Star Wars, I don't say, I'm the Millennium Falcon, I'm a blaster, I'm a lightsaber. I don't say that. I say, I'm Han Solo, I'm Leia, right? I'm Luke. But I know if I'm Han Solo, I'm flying the Millennium Falcon. That's where your company really is. You help the hero and the heroine of that story. You are not the champion. The person who's buying your software, who's sticking their neck out to get the internal adoption and the change management, they're the hero of that story. And so Champion Spotlight focuses on that. Think of it almost like a digital baseball card for them, where you're gonna talk about here's what they're doing, here's what they're solving, here's what they're working, and you're just a little part of that story. And then you're gonna link, here's an award they won, whether it's from your company or not. And you've created this digital track record for them that they now can use if they need another job, if they're trying to get a promotion. It's got links to all of this, and it's a third party validating them, not them talking about themselves. It is an unbelievable way to win the hearts and minds of your customers. Champion Spotlights, and people read them at every single measurable metric when it comes to comparing them to case studies, it beats them out, right? Longer time on site, lower exit rates, lower bounce rates, higher shareability. And guess what? That person wants to share it. How many times do you see your customers wanting to share the case studies you did on them, right? Putting it on their LinkedIn. Sometimes you got a great quote from them, but generally, no. But here, they will share it 100 out of 100 times. It's very rare that you have someone who isn't gonna share that. So Champion Spotlights are a huge way, and if you have a marketer, all you need is a simple landing page. If you do have an advocacy portal, how many of you have advocacy programs, like formalized advocacy programs? And do you use any type of software for that where they join? No. If you did, or if you have it a community, you can actually create the prompts where the customers fill all this out themselves. So the effort to actually capturing these, and because they're not talking about your software as the catalyst, the approval from comms and PR from their companies and legal is so much faster, if at all, if they even go through it, right? Sometimes they can approve it on their own. So it's a great way, and you can prompt them in your community, they fill it out, it's really easy. You hand over and it's templated on a landing page, right? And then in your community, you can have every couple weeks a different Champion Spotlight highlight to show customers off to other customers, which creates that FOMO, right? I want a spotlight on what I'm doing, and I want to be like that person. So I'm gonna end it up and wrap it up ahead of schedule. Christy, if you can hear me out there. The four main things, right, which were taken away that you can talk to your marketing teams about, that you can start to develop that muscle memory, surprise and delight. Start it tomorrow. Like, it is that easy to do, and it is so rewarding for your CSMs to be able to deliver that kind of love. Champion Spotlights. If you've got that one person who is working on case studies, even if it's not their full-time job, work with them, because you can do a majority of that, capture it super easy through the customer. You can even set up a Google form. It doesn't matter how you capture the content. They fill it out about themselves. You just need them to upload a picture of themselves, any links that they want to share that they're proud of, whether it's from your company or they wrote a blog for another company, it doesn't matter, unless it's a competitor. Constant communications, and again, not asynchronous. You need to get on the calls. Your CSMs need to be talking to your customer marketers. They need to know each other, because you can't work really well together if you don't know each other, if you don't trust each other, if you don't believe in each other. That circle of trust is critical. And then if you do have a full-blown team, the shared KPIs will keep you rowing in the same direction, and that shared ownership. So that's everything. Oh, I did want to say, if anyone wants, I put a ton of slides in here on advocacy models, maturity models, all of this kind of stuff. So when they do share the decks, if you wanted your marketing teams to be able to pull from this as they're developing that muscle, it's all in there for you. So I just wanted you to know that's in there at the end of the deck for everyone. There's a lot in there. That's it. So thank you all. I hope it was informative. You like it? I told Todd I would say avocado toast before I left the stage. Avocado toast. All right, any questions, or are we good? Oh yeah, right up front.
So at my company, I believe we have a lot of customer advocates, but there are maybe 10 to 15 customers that the marketing team and the sales team want to actually do the testimonials and whatnot. So any tips for avoiding that, or what can I do?
Any tips on like how to say we need to talk to more than 15 customers over and over and over again?
Yeah, because we always go back to then the same people to do everything. So yeah, how do I maneuver that, navigate it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because those customers are asking for a timeout. You're saying, hey, and from a marketing perspective, you want a broader range of content, right? That story gets old, and yet we keep going back to it. I'll give you an example. At Coveo, we had very, very, very large customers, and a couple of them, anytime we were speaking at Dreamforce, anytime we were doing a Gartner, same customers. And I said, I'm gonna make up a name, Sally Struthers. She's phenomenal, and she is a senior VP higher up who loves our company at Dell. Of course, I know you wanna use her, but when she gets off stage, how many calls do we get? How many prospects are ringing the bell because of that? How many leads do we get when she does a webinar? Let's start to measure the actual effectiveness of our advocates and that reach, because I know when Jamie Batten gets on stage from Lucent, even though the account's only a $150,000 account compared to a $7 million account, and he's a senior director, not a senior VP, he sells the room out. Our webinars go overboard, right? The lead generation. So Jamie Batten is producing. So that is one of the conversations you can have, which is this is the type of engagement. You can start to track that. And now you have the conversation to say to them why you don't want to use them every time. And you want to start spreading it out. Although I guess that is a little bit of the cart before the horse, because you have to get to the other customers, right? And so one of the ways you can do that is start to use other customers and start to highlight them in user groups and things that doesn't always have to be public, right? On reference calls. And now you can start to call out who you think is a better option. But it's hard to just say, let's move on to, and they're like, okay, who? Right, so you gotta kind of do the work there. Over here.
Thank you. I'd love your thoughts on the Venn diagram with digital success teams. So you have traditional customer success, is, white glove treatment. Marketing was built for scale. And now this evolution of scaled and digital success, how does that work in your world? Yeah,
so there's a lot of actual overlap there. And some companies I know have to call it digital CS because they have less regulations in marketing. You know who you are out there, than you do in engagement. So there's a lot of overlap, and where you see the two working together, I gave this example the other day as well, which is like in our training materials, we have these learning modules, and the digital CS, they come in and there's a whole guided path, and they don't have a dedicated CSM, it's all scale. Well, we noticed in our healthcare and our financial, they weren't taking the module on AI. They were just skipping it altogether, they weren't even opening it. So we tried to figure out why. It turns out, well, the regulations say we can't just stick stuff into a black box and have it spit out answers for us. And so we need to produce all of these things. So, but we knew we had like United Healthcare, as big as it gets in healthcare, and obviously they have the same regulations. So I said, what if I grab a couple of these customer stories who went through this process and what it's like to turn the AI on in their industry and how it's helped them. And I put that in the learning module ahead. That's where marketing comes in, right? We grab that story and help. Do we create that whole curriculum? No, but we help support it. We make sure it's brand aligned so that like the CSM, like the sales process, they come in, it's still that same kind of journey. They still feel that branding. They still feel your company is one voice kind of thing, right? So that's kind of where you see the overlap. Anything else? Are we good? Oh, one more.
Sorry, no.
Nope, we're done.
Sorry.
Thank you all. I'll be here for 8 more minutes.